To cloud. All right. Sweet. So, nice to see everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good, good.
Good.
Only mildly panicking about also being out next week, but that's only because I have an international flight in a few hours and not fully packed.
Not fully packed.
Okay.
You should
No,
probably
not me and
plan.
not the children. No.
Oh man.
Oof. You're going to
Where are you
London, right?
headed?
London. So
Nice.
excited.
Nice.
Yes. Would y'all mind if we did introductions? Because I don't always recognize people's names. I sometimes
Yes.
know people's GitLab handles better.
No, it's okay.
So I
Uh,
could start, but I'm Terry. I work on the search team alongside Dimitri as one of the backend engineers, and I've been at GitLab since 2020, and I live in Atlanta in the US.
She's pretty close to me, I think. Well, you're ITP, right?
Yes,
So
I'm in the city,
he's a
but
cool
you
kid.
live by all the good Asian food, so
Yeah. Yeah. That's the main reason why I live here, actually. Um, Jean-Gabriel, you wanna?
Yeah, sure. I'm Sean Gabriel. I've been at GitLab for, I guess, almost 2 years. I've worked on the Aids extensions, notably the JetBrains and Eclipse extension. And now we're, we're working on this project with Angelo, Mike, Bogdan, Dimitri, and Omar to build the knowledge graph. Um, so yeah, Mike.
yeah, I'm Michael. I joined GitLab 6 months ago to work in the knowledge graph specifically. Tim hired me and somebody else, and yeah, I'm one of the core members and calling in from Japan right now, but I'm usually in San Francisco. So
Nice.
Bogdan.
I don't know if I look fine because I just woke up. It's 8 a.m. in my
No,
place.
it's okay. No, I'm
Um,
about to go to bed. So it's like a yin yang thing. So yeah, it's
yeah, I'm Bogdan. I'm in editor extensions team like John Gabriel. But for now, I mostly help with knowledge graph and work on knowledge graph. Um, yeah, oh yeah, I'm in Canada, central Canada. So it's very cold here. Not right now, but in 1 month it's going to be like -30. I don't know in Fahrenheit how much is that, so I'm sorry.
that sounds terrible. Like, no.
There is snow here. Oh,
oh
yeah, we can see snow.
Oh my, you have snow and I
You have
don't
snow
have it yet.
already? Wow.
Yep. Yeah, it started like I think 1st November we got snow. So
I can still walk out here like it's not even cold over here yet.
yeah, it's 0 Celsius. Not sure what it is in Fahrenheit, but
32. 32.
32. All right.
Dimitri, you want to go?
Sure. So I'm on the global search team as well. I've been at GitLab for almost 6 years. I think
Wow,
it will be
Wow,
6 years in a couple of weeks.
that's
that's awesome.
awesome.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Dimitri is like one of the most cracked engineers here too. So Dimitri and Terry. So we're in good hands. Um, Everybody knows me, so I won't waste time. Um, so the main reason, Terry, I want like the team to at least like you and Dimitri both have a wealth of knowledge. I figured rather than me, getting them up to speed, I think it would be really beneficial for us to go over like how the pattern for pre-filtering and then post-filtering works for something simple like issues, maybe. Whatever you guys think is best to illustrate it. Um, so that A, we're prepared for the meeting at 12. Um, and B, we can see what applies to knowledge graph and what doesn't. Because I think everybody is familiar with traversal IDs, right? But there's some other things that I think we need to go over. that we haven't covered. But I don't know, Dimitri, if you think differently or if
So
you would approach it differently.
I've actually prepared a presentation with
Okay,
an
Let's do
agent
it.
Excellent.
with an agent help. So maybe it can help us to maybe spark some discussions, some additional questions. I think that might be a good introduction.
yeah, let's
So
do it.
we can just go through it. That's okay.
Yeah,
All
awesome.
right. And I will try to enable remote control so that Terry can also flip the slides. Terry, can you try it? Yay, it works. All right.
Nice. You had the agent make this?
Most of it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So there might be some incorrect information over here, but I think high level, it looks pretty pretty good to me. So this is our challenge, and I think it applies not only for GitLab.com, but also for large self-managed customers.
Yeah.
And I think all of us knows which specific customer I have in mind. So this is a rough permission hierarchy we have. It's an oversimplification because not everything works like that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that would be a huge benefit.
Wait, can
So,
we go back? Can we go back?
sure.
So, Mike, Bogdan, Jean Gabriel, any questions on this? Is this pretty, you guys understand it?
Yeah, I understand it. I did some digging in the monolith. Might be too specific for this meeting, but from what I understand, traversal IDs are. I was curious about how specifically they're generated. I know it's some recursive SQL query, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the monolith or something.
There's
But
some workers, I think, that are responsible for keeping it up to date that
Mhm.
Adam from the database frameworks team work on. Let me see if I can find some documentation and throw it. Is there like a notes for this meeting I can throw?
Yeah, I created notes.
Okay, I
Should
will
I
be
think
throw some docs in there, but I'll have to go digging.
I think we
But
have
that's a good question.
two
Yeah.
documents attached to the invite. I have access to one, but not the other.
By the way,
Um,
Dimitri, are we going over any like specific customer data? Because maybe we should do that later on so we can make this public. Because I think this is awesome. Like I think the general
I
public should see this
I don't
before.
think we have anything confidential in this presentation. So
Okay.
maybe you can try to not mention customer names.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We'll say the big one. We'll call it big one or
Sounds
something.
good. Yeah, so to
And
Terry's
just
point,
to
oh,
sorry, just to make
sure.
sure, like the I think we I think just yeah, and so the result ID stops at the group level, it doesn't go down projects, right? So like
So you can
in your
have,
case, it would stop at each subgroup, and it wouldn't include the project IDs, right?
so this is the case when you are a member of a group or maybe top level namespace, but you can also be invited to a specific project.
Okay,
And
Yeah.
that's also mentioned in this presentation briefly.
good.
And we need
And
to support both.
and just to clarify, Dimitri, a leaf node can either be a group or a project, correct? Like in the traversal ID?
So in theory, but I think we don't use, or maybe we do use, because we have something called project namespaces, and it's a record in the same namespace table
Yeah.
that represents a project. So
Yeah.
okay.
we can
A
include
separate table.
projects.
I remember we went over that, right? It's a separate table.
But it's the same namespace table. So I think we can have traversal IDs for a project as well. But for advanced search, I think we just keep it separate. So we have traversal IDs for groups, and we have separate thing for individual memberships for specific projects. And I think we have
Okay.
these options for knowledge graph.
Okay. Yeah, because there's sorry, I remember there's two tables. There's the There's a namespace table, and then there's a specific projects table, and then there's a specific, remember we went over, there's a specific column that maps to the namespace table. Isn't that correct? Uh,
Yep. And it's also stored in the namespace table. So in this case, project A will have a record in the projects table and in the namespace table as well.
yeah.
So
Um,
we can potentially represent namespaces and projects as traversal IDs. And I think another benefit is that the I think that's try data structure would also reduce that automatically.
Yeah, yeah, because that's another thing we should probably clarify. If you guys aren't aware, Jean-Gabriel and Mike, is user is a namespace as well. So there's a
Yep.
user namespace. So GitLab.com/Dimitri, right, is a namespace. So when you pass these traversal IDs, we might be getting too in the weeds, but when Elasticsearch goes to when Rails runtime, someone's typing in the search bar and they go to search something in an issue, for instance, we pass the list of traversal IDs for projects specifically, right?
So for advanced search, it's traversal IDs for namespaces and a separate thing for individual memberships for projects outside of this hierarchy. So if you
Okay,
have
so
access
it's like
to
a set
GitLab,
of, sorry, it's a set of traversal IDs and then a set of project IDs that are
yes,
that are not encompassed by the traversal ID.
that's correct. But we could potentially simplify it for knowledge graph when we just use project namespaces inside or as traversal IDs.
Okay.
And so then to get that top level, so to get access to the user namespace, I'm assuming in the user table in your specific row, there's like a parent, there's like some sort of parent ID for your top level user namespace, and then somehow we use that to join against like you know, like what sort of groups you're a member of, right? The traversal IDs there. I'm just curious how like, how it all kind of comes together, how
I
you
think
link
use
a user. Yeah,
I think a user namespace is kind of separate thing, and
I
as
see.
far as I
Okay.
know, we don't really use it as much now. It's
Okay.
not really deprecated, but I think a lot of features just do not work if you have it
Hmm.
under your personal namespace.
Okay. I
So,
see.
but I think we have a bunch of memberships tables. Like if you're invited as a maintainer to GitLab org, it's
I
stored in
see.
that table. So you have permissions to GitLab org and everything under it. So the entire
I see.
hierarchy. And the
So you would
same
join
applies.
against your user ID there, right? So you would
Yep.
join again. Okay. I see.
So,
Yep.
so let's say you perform a global issue search. We get all these permissions and reduce it using this try data structure.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
for GitLab team members, most of the time it's just 970. That's all.
Yeah.
Because you have access to the entire top
All
level
the
namespace.
yeah. Yeah. But there's still the individual item level. But so one thing I think we should think about different that might be different here is like Elasticsearch is for, let's say you're searching for issues, right? But for knowledge graph, when we go to query the knowledge graph, we're going to have different node types, right? So there's going to be the group node type, there's going to be the user node type, project node type. So um, I think the traversal ID would apply to all of those. But it may we need we it might differ, I think, between the nodes in some capacity. We'll just need to make sure we embed these traversal IDs for all the node tables that we input, is my
Yeah,
guess.
I think it might be not a single set of traversal IDs. It might be, as you've mentioned, different for different document types
Yeah.
because our permission system is not unified, or I'm not sure how to call it.
Yeah.
So we might need to support that use case as well.
Okay. Sorry for the tangent there, Dimitri.
No, no worries. So option one, what we had for advanced search, for issue search a while ago. We just load all the authorized projects. It's a ton of IDs. It's really slow. Sometimes Postgres times out when you try to get these IDs, even before we send it to Elasticsearch.
So what tables does this query?
I think, is this a project authorizations table?
I'm not sure if this
Let me
specific method
see.
is for projects only, but before maybe we used the Finder instead. So this might be not
Yeah.
entirely accurate. We just got all the projects the user has access to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for team member, we basically call GitLab org namespace dot all projects. And thousands of project IDs are pushed as part of the query. It's extremely inefficient
Yeah.
and it's not even going to work for large customer.
And yeah, it's not going to work for knowledge graph either. Now, I'm just wondering what tables, I want to identify the tables while we do this.
So
Um,
that authorized projects itself is the project is through project authorizations. Like you can see it in the user model.
I
okay.
think we might need to update this
But
slide to use a
maybe
Finder
you should
instead.
like project finder. It
Yeah,
uses
exactly.
so let me see if I can get the exact line of search code because some of the searches still use this like outdated method of grabbing the projects and I'll link it in the notes.
Okay. Authorized projects.
Another option is post filtering. I think the suggestion we've seen in one of the epics I've linked. So we load a ton of results and then check it against our permissioning system in the monolith. For obvious reasons, it's also not going to work. It's probably even worse than option one.
Yeah. Yeah. Can we go back just so we can go over this a little bit
Sure.
more on the post filtering? Mike, does this make sense? Jean-Gabriel Bogdan? Any questions on post filtering, like what that actually is?
Yeah, so from what I understand, it was like I forget it was a function or a class method. It was like dot verify or something like that. I remember just looking through the monolith. From what I understand, it's just a bunch of it just generates a very complicated SQL query to you know to sort of verify all of the permissions that a particular user might have. And I would understand that doing that in bulk might, cause a lot of strain on Postgres, especially if if we're doing it on like a per item basis or something, like if we're checking permissions for, you know, um, I'm forgetting the lingo for it now. Confidential, comments even, right? That's a different permission hierarchy, right? Than
Confidential adds a whole nother little layer on top of
Yeah.
the visibility levels of the projects and the groups. So yeah,
okay, I see. Yeah.
it's
Okay.
Yeah, so so there's two things here. So the visibility level is also another layer on top of traversal IDs, correct?
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
yeah, because you can have access. So you can have access to GitLab org and you can have it as a guest. But for some data, like that visibility level, if the project is public or internal versus private, like that impacts what people can see at the different role levels, if
Yes.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so you
like
can have
in a private
access.
project, like a guest may not be able to see something that a developer can see only if the project is private.
Yeah. Okay, so
And,
like if
and
you
is
have
this for
GitLab
access?
org, we're sorry.
No, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
If you have
I
GitLab org, like you have Rust, the group, right? You could have guest access on those, and then you could have vi project visibility for knowledge graph project as, let's say, maintainer only. And because you don't have maintainer role um, for that particular group or project, which one is it? I forget. Um,
I'm sorry, what?
where do you assign, where are the roles assigned again?
The roles are assigned when you're giving that access to a project or a group. You're like saying, hey, this person can
Yeah.
access this thing as a guest, as a developer, as a planner, as a reporter.
But it's
Um,
inherited though. So if you give someone maintainer on group, then
yeah, that gets propagated all the way down. Like if you give someone a maintainer, it gets propagated it like actually gets propagated in database tables. So if you add yourself in your GDK at like the top level group and you go look at like a project 10 levels down, your picture will be in the project member list. And the way that that's done is through this like propagation background worker that like
background worker that goes and
propagates
updates your
their
code.
auth down. Yes.
Yes, gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
That's like
Yeah.
super important to know. Do you have questions on that, Mike, Jean Gabriel Bogdan?
That makes sense because, yeah, what I was asking questions about yesterday in the Slack thread was like, okay, you know, if traversal IDs don't cut it because that's pretty, let's just say that's like coarsely grained, maybe the sort of like a, I'll just call it a logical and between, um, you know, the sort of, the highest kind of ancestor group that you have access to, plus like your access level, that could get you most of the way there in terms of, pre-filtering, where if you kind of check both of those at the same time, you don't have to do a lot of complicated redaction logic. That was my kind of intuition behind it. I know that maybe
Yeah, the
that's
redaction logic for us is partially because we are replicating, like we're deduplicating all of the permission settings down into
Mhm,
Elastic. So some of it is for that. We can have if someone at a top level group like changes the group to private,
mhm,
we don't know how many records that's going to shove into the queue. So it's like a last step, just making sure, or maybe like someone's been banned
Yeah.
from a
okay.
group, like that needs to propagate down. And I honestly don't know how that propagates down in the database either. So, it's for it's to avoid security issues from latency and like the indexing pipeline and also
I
like
see.
bugs because sometimes there's bugs and we may not
Okay.
catch them. Dimitri, I don't know if I miss any other situations where we might, oh, I missed something like the things that we can't check for, IP restrictions.
Yep. I think
Yeah.
I have it mentioned somewhere.
Yes, global searches are particularly problematic because SAML auth, like you can be logged out. So if you go in your merge request dashboard, you ever see that thing at the top that's like, hey,
Yeah, you're logged
some of
out.
your stuff's missing because one of your groups is logged out, but you still see stuff in the dashboard. When someone does a global search, we don't have like, I don't know how easy it is to do that pre-filtering that their SAML auth is like expired. I don't know, because of like the group hierarchy. So we have that same display at the top, but the searches also get like the results have to get redacted.
Yeah. Now, when you log in with those Rails runtime checks, like SAML and IP, right? Do we in Elasticsearch, do we proceed with that off, like run it through whatever runtime checks are checking that, and then change the list at all of say traversal
No,
ID?
like that's an idea that I had, but I don't know.
You gotta
Customers,
request
I'm not
time.
sure if it's possible to set up a SAML like restriction on a subgroup. That would be the only concern I have because if someone like there's just some questions I had there. We don't have that implemented. It is something that we could explore
Okay.
for taking the list and pre-removing things.
Like
I just want
removing
to
the
make sure.
traversal ID or something, right?
Yeah, like if someone's SAML auth, you can get the list of groups that the SAML auth is expired. Like there's code in the code base that does that. That's how that like little alert pops up because they're
Yeah.
able to see you have groups that are expired and they can tell which ones because it has a link for you. Hey, this thing expired. Go click it. Um,
And
but
we store that SAML in Redis, correct?
ooh, oh, I don't know.
That's okay. It's implemented. Yeah, so
That's a Samuel team question, but I'm happy to direct you to the code that checks it. And maybe that might be a path
yeah, that'd
forward.
be good. That'd be good. Okay, sorry.
Uh,
Sorry.
how do we handle anonymous users or users who just registered? Because they still have access to something, but they are not part of any group or project.
That's the public
There,
check,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, the visibility levels are public, which is anyone, including anonymous, private, which is anyone but you must be logged in, and or sorry, internal,
Internal.
which is anyone but you must be logged in, and private are members only. I will put a little like notation in here. External users are a thing and they have restrictions. I will link to it.
What?
You can tell a user that they are an external user. I don't know what that means, but it does mean that they can't see some things. Um,
Okay.
and they would be a logged in user, so technically internal, but marked as an external user. Let me get some links.
Okay.
Nice.
Great. Awesome. Um,
So let's talk about the solution. So the first part of the solution is the tree data structure. So we use it as part of the optimization on the advanced search side. And it's a huge help because you don't send 70 separate conditions for traversal IDs.
yep.
You just send one or as few as possible based on the user permissions. We also perform post filtering. We call it the reduction layer. And this is what Terry has mentioned. If some of the permission logic is not implemented, we rely on the reduction layer not to have S1 vulnerabilities when we expose something the users aren't supposed to see.
Yep.
And
Um, Sorry, one question. So maybe if, because I remember Dylan mentioning there's the project visibility, right? There's the access level. Can we write that down? Like, can we get, or have we wrote that down? Is anybody who's writing stuff down? Um,
What? I'm writing some stuff down. What were you asking about being written down?
so there's like, I see, I'm trying to capture the dimensions. So there's traversal IDs, right?
Mhm.
And those embed what you have access to, but they don't embed, do they include what
Not
you
the level that you're like, they don't include your
role?
role. It
They don't
includes that
include
you have this thing. The traversal ID is just like you have. Like
access.
maybe we could look at some way. I mean, what would be great is for us to have some way to like chuff that into some data structure that's like, oh, I need
That's what I'm
reporter, we
getting.
need traversal IDs. We
Yeah.
do that in code. It's not optimized.
Okay.
I would
Okay.
love to make it better,
So
but yeah.
traversal IDs is one dimension, which includes access. So I'm going to do equals basic access. The second dimension is roles, right? Which can be basically your maintainer, developer, guest, and that also propagates down, right? Or is like inherited
Yeah,
through
it
the,
propagates down. You can't give someone maintainer and then give them a guest further down and expect that they will only have guests further down. Like whoever's at the top wins.
yeah,
So, but what I have seen was people have like guest at top and then, you know, it's the same thing we have at GitLab. You'll get a developer when you start working here in GitLab org, but you don't get maintainer
yeah.
in the GitLab project until you get the maintainer role.
Then there's visibility, right? And this plays into roles a little bit because each role can have like maintainer can be assigned issue visibility, right? Am I wrong? Is there this, I'm just speaking in generalities. Correct me if
Um, visibility,
visibility level, like
oh,
I
it's
feel like
it's
I just,
at the top. So
oh,
yeah.
Okay, so we already have that there.
Yeah, and I'm trying to fill in the leave the traversal IDs and the roles. I'm looking at the access levels to see where's the best thing to link to you.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to break down
Uh,
the access hierarchies, or sorry, the access rules, if you will, the rule set.
mhm.
Then there's confidentiality.
Yeah, that's a question I had. Is confidentiality derived from the visibility? So like, is it based
Mm,
on like if something is internal or private, is like is the confidentiality derived from that, or is it something else?
y- yes and no. It's the visibility level and the role, and some of it is also dependent on whether you are author or assigned.
That is crazy. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, this is why I wrote specs for it because um it's too hard to, it's too many permutations to like manually test that something's working.
Yeah, it's like a whole matrix of permit. Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's
wild.
why I made a
Yeah, you
great
made
test that is wonderful.
yeah, I saw that. Um, definitely
But
link.
and this is I actually Heinrich helped me figure out because even with the docs, I still had it wrong when I was working on it
Okay.
recently. So I feel like those specs are the closest thing of what makes sense to me. But I can link some docs that have what people can see.
And
I don't
let's
know.
and let's do also node types because this is knowledge graph, right? So like and it also is search to a degree. So like traversal IDs applies to down to like group, user, project, right? Roles is group, user, project. Um, I'm assuming just those. Visibility level can go down to group. Oh, whoops. Sorry, guys.
Can can a user have a role in and of themselves? Like, does it ever matter, like, if they're not part of any group or project? Like, does that mean anything? Like, if I'm just set to like a guest permanently or a developer permanently, like, would that imply that I would need my role changed by somebody else, an admin, before I could even like be added to a group or a project? Or would that just mean that I'm just curious what like a role only applied to a user would mean if I'm not part of a group or a project? Is that I don't know if that's a silly question or not. I don't know.
No, I don't think a
Um,
user can have a role without it being associated with like a container of a group or a project.
oh, okay, yes. Okay. That makes
I
sense.
think
Yeah.
the only thing that you can say is this user is an external user or not, and that is like those users have restrictions. I linked the docs, so like external users can access public things, but for internal or private, they have to be members.
I see. Okay. So that's when like a user role in and of itself would kind of matter. Okay. If I'm
Yeah,
getting
I
you
guess
right.
it's not a user role. It's like, yeah, maybe I guess it is a user role, but it's like more of like a user. I think it's just a setting on the
Okay, I see.
user model, like probably a Boolean, but I will have to double check.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Okay, that
Boolean
makes
flagged.
sense.
So
Okay.
Okay. Sorry for detracting there. I'm just trying to
no,
get.
you're fine. I want to add one more thing because I like adding things. Band is a thing that impacts whether you can see things,
And
whether a user is banned or not. Um,
this applies to the whole set, so we should just apply
yeah,
down to that
and I
level.
don't know about blocked with states banned. What are with states banned? Maybe
Okay.
I would
So,
look into blocked also because I'm not 100% sure that
okay.
banned blocked.
Um, Dimitri, so back to your slides. So we had, sorry for interrupting the slides.
No worries.
So we have the try data structure, right? But now, like, part of my question is like, how do we check? like the trie data structure solves the trie part of it, right? Like the access hierarchy, right? But earlier Terry said we're not embedding, for instance, role and visibility level into that. Like when we go to generate that array of IDs, we're not embedding the permissions in that query at that when you go to make the request, we're it seems I'm the question is, are we when we go to make the request, what tables are we hitting to generate those traversal IDs? Are we hitting the role and visibility tables at all?
I don't think so. So we denormalize visibility level on the documents themselves
On
so
the
that
document.
it can also be the part of the query. So you have access to GitLab org, maybe, or GitLab org search team, and all the public documents under GitLab org, documents and projects. And we use, I believe, visibility level for that. So we just build this entire query so that you get most of the documents you have access to.
So when you go to search GitLab.org with global search, are you also searching all nested groups as well?
Yeah, everything. And we use prefix search for traversal IDs. In this case, 9970 dash prefix search. So all the documents which have 9970 in the beginning of the traversal ID string, because I think we store the string in
Yeah.
Elasticsearch,
Yeah.
you have access to it.
Okay. And so, and then, so, okay, we do that. We send the traversal IDs. The traversal IDs are just basic access. Now, what about role and visibility level? Like, do we send additional metadata saying user doesn't have access to this project because of their visibility level? Where is that done?
Yeah, we used to do a reject list, but then we found that some people had 40,000 projects in their reject list. So it was like the opposite of the problem we were trying to solve. What we end up doing is we have to look at their role. And so there are queries saying like, oh, you know, we're looking at this traversal ID, but the you have to say, and the projects have to have like this permission level. I have to go and look through the code a little bit, but like we end up
You say
making we
projects, sorry. You say projects. Are we doing the full array of projects for that given use?
no, I think we're looking at like because Elastic has the denormalized data of like what the project level settings are. So we're not asking the user side. We're saying, hey, this user has access to this project or this group. We want to make sure the projects that we're querying are like public because their access is guest or like public and internal. Like,
But
does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
not really.
So
I
I've
would
tried to
No.
cover individual project memberships in here. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if it
Let
helps
me
or not.
see.
Okay,
Hmm.
still need individual project IDs, not covered by try.
And like, what makes it so? What's the condition for a project to be there? Is it like you've been explicitly added as a member, a
Yep,
maintainer?
a member for these projects. So in this case,
Right.
it's GitLab org search team, GitLab org charts, but
Okay.
maybe you're being added as a member under GitLab org Rust knowledge graph as a member.
Okay.
It will be here.
So, okay. So in this case, okay. So projects are subordinate by role specifically. Okay.
What's
Yeah,
the
Um,
and
worst case you've encountered with this? Like, has there been someone that had like 30K projects?
I don't think so.
No.
All right.
Um, Usually I try with like Stan's ID when I'm trying to check someone with a lot of access at GitLab. But even then, they typically have like traverse IDs that cover it, and you'll have
Mm.
well, let me look at mine really quick and see like what I have a list of project IDs that get passed in mine, and it's not that big. It's like
I,
50 or less. I don't know. Dimitri, what do you?
and I think all of these are covered by the try, so
Oh,
we can
yeah.
ignore these.
Okay.
Wait,
Yeah, I
so
think for the, and especially if you're searching in a project, you will not have a huge list anyways. If you're looking at just project, but y'all are probably going to be doing group level things, right? And maybe
Or even global.
um,
global. So let me, sorry, I was wrong. My list has like 10 projects in it, and the rest of
okay.
it's covered by when I search in GitLab org, the rest of it's covered.
Is there like do we guarantee there is no overlap? So like let's say each project in project IDs isn't covered by the try, or is there like a possibility?
I think we go over the original project ID list for individual memberships and reject the ones the try covers.
Covers.
I
Okay.
think we just
Mhm.
explicitly do that to reduce this list as much as possible. Otherwise, it's not an optimization anymore. We would
So
still send thousands of project
so
IDs.
that project IDs, I thought if you get added to if you get added as a member to a project, don't you have to be inherently added as a member to all the parent groups?
I, I don't think so. You can be added to a specific project and you'll only have access to this project. If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, maybe Terry
I
can
think
correct
there's
me.
like, I feel like there's only one case where maybe like epics, you might get some view potential going up if you've been added to a project. That's the only thing I remember being very surprised by. And it's because epics are group level
Yeah.
data. Um, but I don't think if you have been given direct membership to a project, I don't think that you should be able to see things outside of it in like issues.
Okay. I see.
You might like it depends on what the parent group settings are too. So if you're in like a private like group hierarchy, then no, I don't think so. Um, but if you're in like GitLab org is public and you've been given private access somewhere down the line, then yeah, you will be able to see it. It just depends on the settings.
Okay.
But we
That's
could test it
really
out, you know. I mean, definitely we'll try to make sure. But from the experience I've had with issues in Epics, Epics works kind of weird because they're group level data. So when you get added at a project, you can kind of like see up the hierarchy, but only for Epics.
Yeah.
uh, I have a
But for issues,
question.
no.
I have a question that might be like a super dumb question, but why don't we like use the full project path and only like why do we have two separate fields and why do we not just use a single tree-like structure where we just send the full traversal ID until the project for
I
project
don't
IDs?
remember there being project traversal IDs originally
But
when
like I mean
we implemented this.
could
So
you
yeah, we
like
could.
could you like go, yeah, you could say like this project is part of this group or subgroup, whatever, and then you just append, and then you, instead of having to filter by two fields, you can just filter by like a really long, not a really long, but a longer ID. I feel like,
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
what
I
you
think
were suggesting, Dimitri,
yeah,
to
I think
move away from this, maybe?
we can combine these and use a single try structure for both namespaces and projects because each project has its own project namespace record.
Yeah.
And then we'll get all the try benefits out of the box.
Yeah.
nice.
But that doesn't
I
exist.
don't remember that being the way things were when we originally started working on the traversal IDs, and so that is the reason why I think it doesn't work like this. But also, I might be wrong. We moved
Yeah,
from just the huge list of project IDs, and so
Yeah.
yeah,
but if that
I'm wondering,
optimization works for knowledge graph, maybe we can roll it into search. You know what I mean? Or I don't know.
yeah, I'm just curious how we can like minimize the complexity of our queries, and I feel like
Mm,
chaining traversal IDs with project IDs is going to
yeah,
be interesting on like
yeah,
organization-wide queries. So,
yeah.
but yeah, we'll just keep that in mind that like there isn't any real blocker to that if we decide to like somehow do it.
Yeah, I think
And
what
if I
ends up
rem
happening for us for queries, the way that we build them is we typically think of a few different branches that need to be checked. So, like public and internal branches, we typically group those together and say, okay, we're looking for all the public and internal groups that like allow people in. If you're logged in, you get internal. If you're not, you just get public. Cool. That's the easy one. But then you have this like public and internal where you have some authorization. That is a checked branch, and then a public and intern and a private where you have authorization. And those split sometimes happens because of the weird rules around how private groups and projects are treated with regards to some data.
And is
Oh, the
there,
redaction layer.
not to drag this on too long, but are there like any metrics or data on like how much is covered by traversal ID and how much is redacted? Just out of curiosity.
We
I think I've
have
posted.
oh
I think I have it some. Oh, I'm not
yeah.
sure how accurate this data is, but it sounds accurate. I
Yeah,
think we don't
we
have
Oh,
a
have
that's
lot of
good.
usually
redactions.
so the redactions are we have an alert Slack where we get a post every day about how many redactions happen. They're logged. So it's usually like sub 500. And it
Oh,
was
nice.
more, but when Zookt moved to using traversal IDs, it dropped off considerably
How
because we
many
were using the project list.
how many um how many objects do you throw in that redaction layer? Like
A
in one,
single page. I think up to 100 documents or something like that.
only like 100. So you get the result set back and you only send like 100 through that. Now, what if all 100 are redacted? Do you page
And
to the
they
next?
can,
That's a problem.
yeah, that's the current issue that creates weird UX for the web and for the API.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
But that's where that error rate comes from, right? Or not error rate, but notification.
Yeah,
Um,
it's basically anytime a redaction happens, it's logged in Kibana. We have a watcher query or something that like sends it back to Slack.
okay. Bogdan, you have a question?
Oh yeah, I had a question about compression. Uh, I can imagine compression is pretty heavy operation because you have to get a list of groups under a group or organization and compare if you have all the groups in a list of permissions. So for example, if user is part of 65 groups, but there are 66 groups under an organization, you cannot compress it down. So how do you do that? Do
So
you query like whole list of groups under one organization to do that?
so we only get the authorized groups for a specific user, and when we build the try data structure, we reduce it if it's possible. And I think it's possible often. For GitLab team members, as I've mentioned, it's from 10 plus authorized groups to one.
Gotcha.
And the this compression ratio is not maybe uh, wouldn't always be that high, but we try to reduce it as much as possible because each additional condition makes the query slower.
So maybe even for V1 of knowledge graph, we can think about instead of trying to handle like global search where you're doing global search on all public data as well, like you only do global search on your these groups essentially, what you have access to um, for
That
V1.
sounds like a good that
Like we
sounds
don't
like a
try to
good
handle
precondition.
public, yeah, we don't try to handle public like accessing public data other than we don't try to search data that you don't have access to, direct access to. It could be V1. That's more like a product decision, but
I think that makes sense because I mean, at least for us bootstrapping it internally, we'll all have access to like the top level namespace. And then, for some of our customers, like, yeah, I doubt public access would matter that much, especially depending on how siloed they are. So
yeah.
yeah, That
Also,
sounds reasonable to me. So
I
yeah.
feel like currently, like maybe knowledge graph and all of that's going to be like a paid product as part of GitLab. So like there is also like you're going to get random people like that just create an account using the product most likely, unless I'm
Yeah, I
like
mean, in
wrong.
the same vein, like advanced search doesn't index non-paid groups and non-paid
Yeah, we're definitely
projects.
doing
So,
that. We're only indexing people with a
yeah,
license and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
and I
mean,
think
I'm sure
we
there are paid people that have public like us, but I don't really know how many like customers have that like public stuff. I mean, I'm sure it's possible. I have not done any checking. I think if you can get group and like authorized for, my stuff, that might actually make it more like what people want. I don't, if you're not searching your group, people have asked for search to be like search the things that I'm a member of. Like we don't have that capability right now.
Oh,
You either
okay.
get global or group. And I know that that has been a feature request for like an old one where someone's like, I want a setting where I can be like, give me the things I have access to only.
hmm.
Maybe an interesting fact. I think advanced vulnerability management or vulnerability management in general only supports top level access, if I'm not mistaken. So it only works if you are a member of a top level group. Maybe that can also be V1 for the knowledge graph.
Yeah. Isn't
It
that same,
drastically
isn't that
simplifies
same as
everything.
reporter role or something too, or no?
It might be similar. Yeah.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I think you had a question about what if someone only has access to like the number of groups minus one, they will search those groups. There's no way to, you know what I mean? If someone has gone through and there's 65 subgroups and someone has gone and added this person individually to all 65 subgroups, that is what the query is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
Hmm.
like that would be annoying to do,
Well, that's what we
but
were trying to figure out. That's what I was trying to
Yeah,
ask
that's
about
the
with
big thing.
QPS or
That's our
I
main
don't
concern.
know. It would be interesting to see if people have things in that configuration. I don't know.
Can is there a way we can mine this data from our customers? I mean, I know Dimitri,
yeah. So
you've
that
been
was,
hunting it.
that's that script that Dimitri made for that. We'll
Yeah.
call it big customer, the big customer.
It
You
just
know, I would
sounds,
still ask
yeah.
if we have this data though, because I feel like someone might have this outside of like us.
Hmm.
Like statistics around
Yeah.
how people maybe I don't want to ask the auth team because they're busy, but like I feel like this is information that would be really helpful. Let me see if I'll
Y-
dig around, see if I can find anything.
Yeah. It just seems like the napkin math. I mean, if I was adding a person 65 times, I'd get tired and just add them to the, you know,
Yeah.
higher level group, right?
It
So
might be like an automated script that would
Yeah.
do that. I could see
It
like,
it
yeah.
might be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see like using like API endpoints, but even then, I think a lot of customers also do the whole like I'm sharing my access with a group. They'll put people they want in a group and then be like, okay, this group now has access to this project and this other
yeah.
group and this like that. So,
So,
um,
so for strategy two, right? One of the main questions that Brendan is his name, one of the data security guys said was, so for Elasticsearch, like we need to think for knowledge graph. This is more for the knowledge graph team, but we need to think about strategy two, right? And the amount of data that we actually are going to need to pass through this redaction there, because um, like it depends on the different tool. So traverse nodes, like if you're starting from a particular node, you're gonna pass probably, or I mean, you'd have to pass all of the related anything that comes back. So you're doing neighbors, right? So you do two hops of, let's say, an issue, you get all the related merge requests, items, you get all the related epics up to two levels deep, right? We're gonna have to pass all those through this redaction there. Um, so at what point do we say, okay, this is too many objects? Now, some of them it doesn't even make sense to like go past a certain amount of item limit. Like you don't want to throw 100 issues as a response to an LLM tool call for explore neighbors, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm like, can this redaction, I need to see like right now we have this like read issue. I'm interested if there's a read confidential issue or something like that that might help you with like that particular state where maybe would you be able to pull the group or project from that data, reduce that list, and then see what you have access to, and then scrap everything like that's from those easier? I
I
don't
see you're
know.
saying like an access hierarchy through the graph itself in a way.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because well, in the graph, can you be like, oh, here's the graph that I got. This graph corresponds to these list of groups and projects.
Like if you have a group node, right? Anything
Yeah.
touching that
Anything
group
from that
node,
group node, just chuck it out because you don't have access at the group for what
that's
you
a
want.
good
I don't
question.
know.
That's a Mike
Yes.
question. That's a Mike and Jean question. That's
I
something
think
we got to think through for sure.
I think
Yeah,
this
that's
thing is our single source of truth. I think we have to use it until we have an external auth service,
Yeah.
So,
and
but
we should
Terry's
probably
Yeah, I'm
Terry's
saying like we use this, but can we
like you
like
check
because
the groups first,
we
right? Or
have a
something.
hundred objects, right? What if they have like 2,000? Can you pull the groups and projects
You'd
from
have to
I
pass
don't
it
know.
first. So
I
you would like the
The
algorithm would
post
be
filtering.
basically like you do a traversal on a particular issue, for instance,
mhm.
and you like let's say we get an epic that's related to that issue, that's one up. You would have to do one call for this issue in this epic, right? And let's say this epic has a bunch of items under it. The API server, the web server will have to be smart enough or have to have some logic in it where it says this issue and this epic, let's check the access of this first. If this epic, they don't have access to this epic for whatever reason, then any node related to that epic gets killed,
Yeah.
right? Uh,
And 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 depending on the tables that we replicate with Siphon, right, we could do that all in ClickHouse, right?
Not
Like if we have
necessarily.
access to
Yeah,
some of the
runtime.
permissions.
Or at least, yeah, you can do it with some of the permissions. Yeah, so you can try to do it the
Maybe it
greedy.
might be easier just to write a post filter first that mimics kind of what we have and benchmark it with what because I would
Yeah,
like to see what the performance looks like before you go down
before
this
we do
whole
something
path of
crazy
doing
like
something
that.
like really complicated.
Yeah,
Maybe
Yeah.
start with this and maybe it's
that's what
fast
I was
enough for
asking.
the first iteration.
That's what I was asking. Like, what's the performance on this redaction, and like how many objects can we throw in it? I know Dimitri, you and I talked about like making an endpoint, right? That's an array. Pass in an array of IDs and node types, quote unquote, and then we do object can access. So kind of like an auth Z layer,
I would
using
say
the same.
100 or fewer.
Okay, yeah, that might be some limitation that we go with for the initial iteration to make
my
it
only
smart.
concern is MRs with a lot of comments. But
Mm.
I think it's okay because it
Did you
happens.
say comments? Oh yeah.
Comments, discussions,
Yeah.
notes.
Yeah.
That's like my only concern because those
Yeah.
can easily drag out. Now, especially like people have cursor, Claude or GitLab Duo bots that just spam everything, every merge request. So,
Yeah.
um, but I feel like might be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think comments is one that's a little bit more problematic for us also because you can have comments on like many types of data
Yeah.
that all have different rules. So like you might be able to see a comment on an issue in a project, but you can't see it on a merge request because you can't see merge requests.
And we can see internal, or we have internal comments, or what's the term we use?
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
oh man, that's also another one. Can we add that to the
and I would like I just want to make sure that Knowledge Graph is kicking all system comments to the curb. Well, that's what I would do. We do not index system comments. Those are the
Yeah,
ones
we
that are
would.
made by bots.
Yeah.
I would not do those.
Is there metadata on the table for that, or are you check?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
no, it's
Yeah.
on the table. And just as a fun fact, there is some issue or merge request out there that has like some ridiculous amount of comments on it
Yeah.
to the point where
Brandon
it
also
cannot
told
be
me one.
indexed.
Brendan sent me they're dealing with some incident. I can't say the customer, but essentially they had a billion re rows for one merge request, and this merge request had
Was it
thousands of
being
hits.
referenced in comments? There was one that I found because it broke indexing and it could not be indexed. And I was like, what is happening? Why are there so many comments? There are
Yeah,
now preventative rules in place that that shouldn't happen again, but it could
yeah.
exist in self-managed instances depending on how people use it.
Low key, we run a LLM and summarize the comments and just save that with DNR.
I would say even Jean Gabriel, what we could do during the indexing process is just set a rule, right? Like if this merge request contains, I don't know,
Yeah.
let's say
To be
2,000 plus related notes, like we're not indexing this and just log it or something. I
That
don't know.
yeah,
hard boundaries seem like a good idea for the MVP.
yeah.
It just, yeah, yeah. I
Something that's probably something we also need to talk about with the analytics team because like we're only going to pull data from ClickHouse. So like they're going to have to deal with the billion rows maybe first. And then
Yeah.
so but yeah,
But we're
we'll
gonna
probably
be,
need to sync on that.
but we're also gonna be rolling our own Siphon config, right? Like like it's not necessary that we'll be one to one with the analytics team. We'll be using their code, but we might not be using their configs, right?
No, I mean
Like we're not,
ideally we say the tables that we need and then they
they just, yeah, they
like
set
we
it up for
add
us.
them for real to the existing normalized you know, database they have, and we take from those
Okay.
tables.
Yeah, that would be good. And then yeah, so I guess the our job is to figure out like, yeah, if for as much pre-filtering as possible, maybe if we can add some permission tables or something there as
Yeah,
well.
that's what we need to
Yeah.
talk with them about. That's like part
Yeah.
of the reason we have a call at 12. Now,
Yes.
access level filtering. This is what I want to learn about, Dimitri. So we briefly went over, we have like, we do the traversal ID, we send the traversal IDs. So in the Elasticsearch query, do you set like, so do you check like, for instance, GitLab org Rust knowledge graph. Let's say the user doesn't have access to it because they're missing the visibility level. Do you say, and do you add in the query condition for this particular project, visibility level must be higher than this?
Yeah, it's part of the query. So we build it to
So
account for in.
what if you have like hundreds of projects like that?
So we do not send project IDs. We have visibility level denormalized in the documents themselves. So it's part of the condition. Visibility level equals something is in the condition or in the query.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, that's why the whole like redaction thing, when someone makes changes, this stuff has to like propagate through to all the documents of whatever was changed.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that
Uh,
handles individual access. Like, can't you accidentally filter out somebody who, like, if their visibility level, like, if they have a visibility level for some really nested project, right, and they don't have access to it. Um,
I don't think so. Like you, so you,
oh, I see. The
um,
role levels are embedded in that integer essentially, and it should apply, right?
like you, there is some almost like, I don't know, we are making decisions as for what the minimum role is for you to access things. For the most part, it used to be reporter.
Yeah,
And
that's
for
what
some features, it's developer, and now we have planner. So things are a little weird, but generally, like, um, it's the role that someone has access to it combined with the visibility level as to whether they can like see things.
okay. So
So
I
if you
see.
have like a private project, you can't usually like guest is maybe not enough to see everything.
I see. So okay. So like, let's say I have reporter level role for GitLab org slash Rust slash knowledge graph.
Mhm.
That visibility level is um, set to private, right? Or set
Yeah,
to,
let's say it's at the private because that's like the most restrictive.
yeah, most restrictive. Now, if I don't have reporter role and I have access to that project for some reason, it'll still be filtered out because the query condition is set to higher, like some minimum integer, right? Is
Mhm.
that the case?
I think membership will be covered by
To try.
sections 1 and 2.
Okay.
And if you don't have direct membership or group membership, then we, based on your role, look at public projects and internal projects.
Yeah, but your role can differ between different projects, right?
Yes.
W- Would it make sense for, at least for our use cases, for knowledge graph, for instead of us doing a or predicate, it's like an and where like, you know, they have access to this upper level group or namespace, and they have access to these projects, and they have a minimum filter of at least a reporter instead of an or. Because we want to be as conservative as possible, maybe.
Yeah, that's what
Uh,
this is, isn't it, Dimitri? This is all and.
but
I
this is
think
combined with or logic.
that would basically make it so that if you have in any individual project level access, it's literally just going to be that. You won't get anything outside of it if you say like the ands,
Okay.
if
But
that
that's
makes
the same,
sense.
isn't that the feature of basically what you're saying
Mm.
earlier? Like give me access
They're
to
ors. Yeah, but it's ors. So you will have access to like maybe GitLab org as a developer, and we can say you could see the things that that lets you see.
yeah.
Or you have access as a maintainer in this project, and that gives you some additional permissions that you could see
That's what
somebody
I'm
else.
trying to figure out for this
Mhm.
visibility level and like not the individual project access, but your role plus visibility level, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm just trying to figure out what the query looks like if you have GitLab org slash Rust knowledge graph. That's set to most restrictive, private,
Mhm.
and um, the user has guest access to GitLab org, right? Or GitLab org Rust. Then you have another branch where it's GitLab org search, right? And that the user has maintainer access, and that project is set to like, I don't know, maintain not or like guest visibility, right? What does that query look like? Is my question. Do you know, Dimitri?
I
For
don't remember
issues?
specifically.
For
For
issues
issues, let's
or
say for issues.
for
Yeah, for issues.
okay. So mm,
It's okay if you
I
don't know.
think if you
That's the only
are
ambiguous part of this to me.
yeah, it is very confusing and I have trouble explaining it in words and I'm not sure how to like visually show it to you either. Let me think about it. Can you write down the exact situation you want to see in the
Yeah,
doc or in the chat? And I can put that as a homework to get you something that
that'll
hopefully
be really
makes
helpful.
sense. I'll
Yeah,
probably do
that'd
it
be
locally because it gets confusing when you do the GitLab org stuff. I can get you like the Elastic query. Maybe that might be helpful to look at and also
that'd
see
be
if I can
huge.
write it down
Yeah.
in words.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be really helpful.
Um,
Yeah, that's the
And
only
I
thing
it's
that's
so confusing.
ambiguous to me. But
Yeah, I mean, I linked some docs about like who can see confidential issues, but also there's the, I don't, I mean, and all of this stuff I have learned like through being here. That's the part that's like so frustrating for me. Or like, I don't think there's any one place where it's easy to pluck out like what can you see?
yeah,
Um,
oh yeah, there's no auth Z service, that's for sure.
no, there's the roles and permissions page, which tries it tries to tell people like what you can see, right? But it's there's so much data in GitLab. I don't know how you can like give this to someone in like some form that makes sense. I mean,
Uh,
but technically for issues, like if you're a guest, you should be able to see them as long as they're not confidential.
I
I,
have
I really
a
like, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I have a question about like the visibility levels for your like access level filtering. Um, is it like something specific to like search where you want to search a string, you want to include the projects a user has access to, but you also want to include like GitLab as a whole, um, like with like the with the public project filtering. Is that like what you're trying to achieve?
Like, so GitLab.org is a good example group. Like, it's a public group. Everybody on the internet can look at it. Everyone can, and GitLab itself, the project is a public project. So, when you're looking at issues in GitLab project, everyone can see the issues that are there. Like, if GitLab org has an internal project, we have to have that check that's like, oh,
Okay,
who are you? Are you logged in? Oh, cool. You can look at GitLab org because it's public, but if you're not logged in, you only get visibility level 20.
I see.
If you are logged in, we'll give you both. And then we additionally look at what do you have access to, and we add the visibility level 0 or whatever the private one is. And then there's
Okay,
also the repository feature access level, which can be turned on to say like team members only, things like that.
right.
Um,
Okay,
that's where things
so
get like really complicated is when you have this like
yeah. So
public top level thing.
yeah, I see, right. So
So
this is these filters are there because you have to like you're indexing in essentially GitLab as a whole. Like you're searching across not only GitLab org, but you're searching across like
Yeah, it also
the
allows
whole
us to do
public.
the global, yes.
global search, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
but it's to cover the situation when you're working in a group that is technically public that has hierarchy with different permission levels.
I see.
So if
Hmm.
you cut out the global and don't even think about it, you still need it
Yeah.
for group level because
Yeah.
you can have public groups with private things inside of
Hmm.
them. And
And
it has to be an or, otherwise you won't get it. I mean, if
Yeah,
you
I
really want to
see.
be really restrictive, just start with like, hey, you have to have like like really hardcore access to get anything. But
uh,
then I feel like people will be like, why can't I see this thing?
Yeah, I
yeah,
Yeah.
I
see.
really like the
Yes.
idea of
Yeah.
requiring maybe a minimum reporter role, reporter access level for the top level namespace. I think that drastically simplifies everything. It's basically an if condition for each top level namespace at this point.
yeah, that was about to say, but we still need to, even with that, when we sync these tables, we need to sync all these dimensions, right?
Yes.
We still need to
Maybe
set the visibility level as part of a column for, say, the group table and group node table and the project node table, right?
I'm not super sure if we introduce this requirement because if you have access to a top level namespace, you have access to everything
In that name,
potentially.
Yeah,
in
if
that
you have
Yes.
namespace.
reporter access, you have reporter access all the way down.
But
And
then if I
reporter
went
does
in,
give you confidential issues and comments on issue, like it
hmm,
gives you all the confidential access that you need
I see. I see.
okay.
and
Then
internal
if you went to
notes.
all the, but then if you
Yeah.
went to all of the projects and I did an and with a visibility level that was maybe more restrictive, that would cut down the space of projects even further, right? So if I, you know, for the top level namespace, all the projects that, you know, I'm a direct member of, if I said, if I had an end condition at the end being like, I have to be a developer, right? That drastically cuts down the space even further. And maybe, again, maybe for us, this is up to the team as well. Like, maybe that's a product decision that we should make and just say, like, you know, it's going to make our lives a lot easier, being that, like, you have to have,
Yeah, I mean,
well, you
Does
go.
anybody in GitLab org right now have reporter level? Like, do we all have reporter level or no?
I think we're developers.
yeah, I think developer.
Which is a
Yes.
higher
Yeah, it's
visibility.
We
higher.
wouldn't even be able to use it.
No,
Yeah.
reporter is lower.
Lower. It's guest
What's
Oh,
planner,
lower? Okay.
reporter, developer. Yeah,
okay.
I mean, so. If
Okay,
if
wait.
someone
So
has
sorry.
developer access or reporter access at that like group that you're working with, like I don't even think I wouldn't even check the projects because it doesn't matter. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
only when you're like
Yeah.
expanding outward into some global space that you have to kind of do these checks.
Those checks, yeah.
And when you allow guests, like if you roll back to allowing like the minimum level, then you do have to do this project
Oh
check.
yeah, that doesn't make sense. Reporter level might be
It's
the
the move.
at
Yeah.
the top level, like Dimitri said, and then yeah, you don't have to worry about all these nested
Th-
permission.
Then the
Just
And
try
that's what,
data structure becomes your permission,
Yeah,
yes.
becomes your permission
yes.
check
Yeah.
essentially.
yeah.
And
I
that's
would
what,
say just don't code it in the way that you can't add the stuff later. Because you know they're
yes,
gonna ask for it. Uh,
100%.
So
Yeah.
can you go to the
This is
next
what
slide?
Adam said too, right? This
Yeah,
is what,
now I understand what he's saying. Can you go to the
yeah.
next? Yeah. So we should add require reporter level role as bold.
Nice.
Yep.
Probably. That would drastically simplify all of that. But I think that's not an option for advanced search because we just need to
Yeah.
follow all the permissions
Yeah.
as closely as we can. So this is
Yeah, it
a
makes
rough
sense.
example, but if we
it just becomes
start
the
with the
top.
reporter role, it
Yeah.
becomes probably this part, not even subgroup part, just 9970. That's all.
Yes.
Maybe some other
Yeah.
top level namespaces if you are executing a global search
Yeah, that
or a
simplifies our
global graph
queries.
query.
That
Yeah.
simplifies our stuff a lot because yeah, our all our queries are going to be run against like a single namespace, like as of now, because we're building like a namespace graph. So when a user makes a query, it's already going to be scoped to a single namespace. It's like that removes the like we're going to include traversal IDs, but we may be able to we may not need to use them.
Dimitri,
Yeah.
We'll be able to just filter.
this presentation is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This clears up so much. This is good.
Thank you. This is
Uh,
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a very dumb question. Where do we get what role user has? Do we get it from token or do we do a
So
request to Rails before the
yeah, so
accounts?
the request will come from the user client. It'll go to the Rails endpoint. That Rails endpoint, Dimitri, I was gonna ask you how we do the JWT, say for Zoekt, right? The idea is that we get the data that we need for the individual user, very similar to probably search. We probably can actually leverage a lot of the code there or like figure out a way to like leverage it together. We grab the data that's necessary. We sign a JWT, package that in a JWT, a payload, and we send that to the Knowledge Graph web server, essentially. And that web server will operate off of the data in the JWT.
And I think with the
Okay.
Okay.
reporter requirement, it will be just this try data structure.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
one or more top level namespaces. And later, if we need, we can expand it maybe with subgroups, with something else. But I hope that we can just keep the reporter level requirement and just a tree data structure with top level namespaces, try data structure.
Yeah. I'm a little
This
unclear how we would generate the JWT, Dimitri, but I can ask you that out later.
Oh, we have it in the Zook client already, so I think it will be pretty similar.
Okay.
perfect.
So a bunch of other things. And I think we kind of cut
Mm,
all of this with this requirement.
yeah.
Maybe admin users would still apply.
Maybe, and also, I don't know, external users. I don't need to look at the docs.
So
Um,
edge cases, we have project access without group access, different access levels in hierarchy. We talked about that.
yeah, that one will be cut out because if you require reporter, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, then you don't have to
Yep.
embed those levels.
Mhm.
Custom roles, enterprise. I'm not sure what that is. What is
I would
that?
not do that as part of iteration one.
Okay. So custom roles is the discussion that we're gonna have at 12, right? As well. Um,
Oh, I don't
Not
know.
necessarily.
S-
Custom
So
role means you can say, I am a guest, I have a guest role, but it has the ability to read code. That is one of the abilities you can give it. There's like way more than 10.
But
Um,
Dimitri, wasn't there a discussion in that thread for adjusting the logic in custom rules or something?
I thought that it's about a more long-term solution to our auth architecture because we want to support advanced search use cases and knowledge graph use cases.
Yeah,
But
no,
maybe
no,
I'm
I'm just
maybe I'm
referring
wrong.
to that specific what they were talking about in that thread, but
Yeah, I
um,
think we do not support custom rules properly at the moment.
okay.
So
So
we
in
just
our
reduct it
case,
out.
so in our
But
case, it would also be redaction, or would we just say like, oh, if you have a guest, it doesn't matter if they have access to everything, you still need reporter plus, or would we,
I,
or do you
I
recommend that we
sus
still redact?
I suspect that I think we should still introduce the reduction layer, even if we have the reporter requirement. Maybe
Mhm.
it's changed and you didn't have time to update everything. You would have a vulnerability. I think we still need the reduction layer, but we might not need to care about custom roles if we require a reporter role. I'm not 100% sure, but that's my suspicion.
Okay, that is a question
Okay.
then we'll need to ask at 12 then.
Yep.
Anonymous users also doesn't apply. You have to be
yeah,
signed
you
in.
have to be signed in.
I think we need to support admin users, but it might be as simple as you have access to everything, just an extra if condition.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a check that's called can admin all resources. That's the one that we use to see if someone's an admin, and that makes sure that the it respects admin role being enabled, which is something that an instance can do to.
So admin is admin at any level of the hierarchy.
I don't think it's in the hierarchy. I think
It's global,
admin
right?
is a global instance setting, and you can also have like a
So is Stan
there's
basically only an admin of
I don't know. I don't think there's that many people in the SRE team too, but there's also like this thing called admin role being enabled or disabled, and that is like I think it's an additional thing that you can turn on in your instance that say like you can be an admin, but you can be working outside of the admin mode.
And do global roles, are they persisted in Postgres, or are they persisted outside of like any durable storage, like they're inside like
I
some
think it's in
etc
Postgres.
it
file?
has to be
Yeah,
in
Some
Postgres.
Postgres.
I
Plus
think
it's
it's
I
in
was
like
gonna say, yeah.
Postgres.
I think we sign like the root user is signed in some file though. And we generate the password once or something and
Yeah.
it's like not
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
most
because
of
I
these
guess if it's
things,
in Postgres. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, so most of these things are going to be like things to think about when we, I guess, generate the GWT. So it's like, give me the correct, like, make sure that GWT has the correct information. And then on our side, we shouldn't have to work. Like, not, I mean, on the knowledge graph code base side, we shouldn't have to worry about like most of that. It's only like
Yeah.
we should take that into consideration when we generate which namespace a user has access to.
I
Yes, that
think
would be
Right.
good.
for
Okay.
for the first iteration, it will probably be the try data structure and whether or not you're an admin, or maybe one or the other
yep. Yep.
Okay,
in
yeah, so just
inside of
the
the
or.
signed JWT.
Good.
And
Okay.
external users is edge case we don't need to worry about because this is going to be a paid product. So um,
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Um,
That's nice.
oh, this
Don't
was,
bite.
yeah, don't bypass. And the only thing I would,
wait, go
I
back.
think
Go back.
Dimitri has some,
What is this? Don't pass the pipe.
basically always have a
Oh,
redaction
what we just
layer.
talked about. Yeah.
Basically,
Always have a
yeah.
Yeah.
redaction layer.
Yeah, yeah, always have that.
I would strongly recommend, in addition to the performance testing,
Hmm.
if you do redaction, track it so we can see how much being redacted, right?
Yeah.
We want to, maybe the top number one is maybe not as needed if we're going to require reporter. Maybe it's not
That's true.
going to
Yeah.
be as bad.
So I
Um,
got an idea with this, Mike Jean-Gabriel Bogdan.
Hmm.
Let's so when I built the end-to-end thing, right? I deployed a GitLab instance to Google Cloud VM. I'm
Hmm.
gonna teach you guys how to do that. And what we're
Yes.
gonna do is we're gonna build the whole thing end to end. Uh using already like there's a lot that exists that I wrote to get it into the cloud. So we can use the same cluster config. We'll probably need to get a shared cluster. Then what we can do is with that GitLab instance in the VM, we can run the performance tests against the new redaction layer endpoint that we're going to expose. And we'll throw load at it to see how much load is being generated on that endpoint. I think that's the most practical, feasible way of doing it. But I don't know if you
That
guys,
sounds,
that's how I
Yeah.
would.
yeah, that sounds good to me. Yeah. No, that sounds right. I
Dimitri, what do you think?
wonder what oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I think as long as it's maybe 100 results or fewer, we don't even really need to benchmark it because you can require up to, I think, 100 results via the search page. And we check each of these results against the ability can reduction layer.
Okay. I think we should
So
test it maybe just for like node types that might be ambiguous, right? So not issues, but maybe lower ones. I don't
Nodes.
know. Um, what about like what if we index merge requests? What about CI pipelines as an example, right? We want to index CI and we want to index vulnerabilities. Is that going to be a more deep redaction check, Dimitri?
I think it's the same.
I
It's
don't think
one
so. It
ability
has a
can
policy like
call.
read
Yeah.
CI pipelines or there's a read vulnerability policy check.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I will need to drop in a minute or so to another
Yes.
call. I
Yes,
think
we went with
that's basically it.
This
There's
is
one
super
last
helpful.
slide.
Oh, I have one more request. If you do this stuff, please make visibility specs. Otherwise, you are going to be in the nightmare of having to manually test this stuff. I'm happy to send links to how our visibility specs
let's
work, but
do it.
they're the matrix,
Please.
right? You saw the matrix that we have, which is like
Mm-hmm.
for every role, maybe this one will be less simple, but you can check guest, admin, like anonymous and reporter, and just make sure that it doesn't fail on the end where y'all are processing all of these checks. Um,
Yes. Okay.
we don't want
That's
security
perfect.
issues. Security
This has
issues
been
is
really,
Yes.
horrible. So
yeah, this has been really awesome. Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
I
Yes,
cannot
this
thank
is
you enough.
amazing.
yeah,
Um,
feel free to ping us anywhere. I love complaining about auth. I like it. I love this. Then I love search, and I'm interested to see what y'all are doing. So
I'm hoping like we can leverage a lot of the same code, Dimitri. Like,
Or just if you're a reporter, check.
That's right. Yeah.
yeah, cool. All right. Well, appreciate it. I know you guys got to go, so I'll see some of you guys at 12. Um,
Yes. I'm going to bed. So,
all right.
Thank
Bye.
you.
all right.
Very nice
Bye.
one.
All right. See everybody. Thanks, guys.